Live from the Four Aces Studios, Four Aces Presents brings to you West Coast Bias.
The following Four Aces production is for mature audiences only. Listener discretion is highly advised.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of
What's
like
up?
stressing
Okay.
myself out.
Yeah. Hold on. Hey, people, what's up? Sorry, we kind of spilled over there with our off-air conversation, but welcome back to this month's edition of West Coast Bias. I'm here with the full roster today. Well, we're still short Steve, but he's on indefinite LOA.
He doesn't count
so,
anymore.
Yeah, he's not even in
he
the
doesn't
group.
count anymore.
He's not even in the group message anymore. He took himself out. So, I just noticed that the other day. I was just like, "Damn, Steve, you that far out, huh?" It's all good though. We'll always have love for you. And you'll always be welcome back here on West Coast Bias, brother. But yeah. So, being that there's very little actual live sports to talk about right now these days, we should hopefully be getting some sports back by July. We decided to discuss what was basically one of the biggest stories in sports for about 5 weeks, and that is the documentary on the '98 Bulls, The Last Dance. And so myself, Duel, had Miss OMalley here. We're all going to kind of be sharing our own memories of the kind of '98 season from back in the day. If some of us, like my old ass, can actually remember back that far. And we're going to share some of our thoughts on the documentary itself, which is extremely interesting from pillar. Well, I haven't reached post yet. These two have. I'm still on episode 8. But from pillar to so far, what I've seen, it's been epic. Kind of framing everything into my opinion a realistic light. But I'll let you guys do kind of an overall thought process on it. We'll start with you, Heather, since we haven't heard your voice on this show in a good couple months. Maybe because we haven't had a show for a good couple of months, but we missed your last episode. So we'll kick off with you and some of your overall thoughts before we start digging into the episode by episode review of The Last Dance.
Well, I thought it was interesting. Like we were talking off air. I think that calling it The Last Dance and saying that it was really about the 97-98 season is a little bit misleading. Because if you don't pay attention, you're in a whole different year, a whole different decade, a whole different whatever, the way they jump around the timeline. Yeah. They do a lot of backstory on a lot of the players, and players that, you didn't realize maybe at the time were as integral as they were. Mm-hmm. I really, being a Warriors fan, I really appreciated the Steve Kerr portion of it.
Okay.
And being able to see how he was affected, and then, what happened when his dad died, and then how that made him and Jordan relate to each other a little bit more, even though they never really talked about it. It was something that they shared with each other. It did get confusing time to time because it is not told in a linear manner.
Right.
They're constantly going back and forth to they started from Jordan at the beginning of his high school career, and the fact of how competitive he was with his brother, and his dad straight up said, that his brother actually was a better player than him to begin with, but his raw talent mixed with his work ethic is what got him to where he was at. It's what got
just to
him
quote, that's
to
a
be
common theme
who.
throughout the thing about Michael is that Michael had a tendency to do that. So, but go on. I was just noting that for later on.
His work ethic was, it's none other, and which makes sense why, and we were talking about this too, about how depending on who you talk to, he was an angel or he was the devil, and usually the ones who had an issue with him were the ones who were used to just skating by, who were used to dialing it in or phoning it in during practice. And that's just not
just going
how
through the motions.
He never would have been able to be on a team with Allen Iverson other than the Olympic team because, practice. But I really did appreciate, he had the raw talent, but at the time he was small, which, again, being a Warriors fan, I laugh at now thinking of Steph Curry, and how they talked about how small he was. But they talked about Jordan that way when he was a rookie. They straight up said he'll never be able to lead a team in the NBA. He's too small. And, he's he's God as far as basketball is concerned. I'm sorry, and I know that a lot of this is generational. The younger generations will sit here and argue it's Kobe, it's LeBron, whatever. I'm sorry, no. No one will ever be Jordan ever again. Because also basketball was so much different back then. It was a different game. I don't think Kobe, rest in peace, no disrespect. I don't think Kobe or LeBron would have had the careers that they had and have back then.
I can say that I agree with you on one point in the sense of and that's only because I brought this up on the show before. I've told people tons of times before. I don't believe LeBron James is LeBron. It's brought up to be LeBron James in basketball years ago. He's probably told to pack on more pounds. He's probably told to grab rebounds and do putbacks, but they're not looking for him to be a point forward. They're not looking for him to be that athletic dude. Now, or he could have been Scottie Pippen. One of those two, somewhere in between Karl Malone and Scottie Pippen is where LeBron James is going to land. And I don't think he dominates the way he does if he's not allowed to be the LeBron James that stands before you today. So yeah, if you just took a time machine and plucked him out of now and dropped him into the 90s NBA, yeah, he probably averaged 50 a game, 20 rebounds, and be dominating all over the place. But I think if you take him as a little boy and you pluck him and you place him back there with the training that they had and so on and so forth, I don't think he grows up to be the same player that he was in today's NBA. Because guys like Kobe and Jordan coming in before him kind of changed, and Pippen coming in before him kind of changed the way the game was played over the years to where he was able to maximize all of that in his time frame. But let's let Duel get a word in here as well. Do some of your thoughts on the overall documentary of The Last Dance?
I loved it. Great. As a basketball fan and a huge Jordan fan, it was a thing of beauty. But for me, it provided more insight into what was going on like behind the scenes.
Yeah.
For me, it answered the question, well, how come this team didn't go for 4?
Yeah.
Now it answered the question,
it should have been 7.
It should have been 7. You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I said I don't know if you were on yet. I said that would have been a better name for the documentary. Would have been it should have been 7.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's interesting that they call it like The Last Dance as opposed to Jordan. I mean, because really the documentary was about him.
Right.
Right, but they called it The Last Dance because his playbook for that season was titled The Last Dance.
Yeah. And that's is what it is. But I think that allows it to focus. To focus more on Scotty and focus more on Phil, and then and so on and so forth. But really, it was about Mike and his ability to change a team and the game in the way that he did. And so it really paid a lot of respect, to him and why people consider him the GOAT. Not just his moves, or his ability to score a ball. It was how he approached the game. It was how he he brought that work ethic and that winning attitude to a organization that wasn't nothing before him, and really hasn't been too much after him.
Oh, really?
Which again begs you to ask. Which again begs you to ask the question: how are you rebuilding when you got a championship team right there? You let them work that out until somebody knocked him off. That's what he did to the Lakers. He knocked off Magic. He knocked off Clyde.
Krause had a power complex, and he didn't like the fact that Phil Jackson basically had more power than he did.
To an extent, yeah.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, and that's that goes a lot into it. Yeah, that's it, and that really sucks that one man's ego or so to speak can destroy a team like that.
Yeah.
And then at the same time,
but we've seen it time and time again.
Yeah. So, but yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it.
You thoroughly. All right.
He reminded me a lot of Bill Belichick in how he's a system guy, and Krause felt the same way. He didn't feel like any one player or any one coach or any one person should have as much clout as Phil Jackson and Jordan had, and that players should be interchangeable and coaches should be interchangeable. And it reminded me a lot of the way that Belichick coaches his teams.
Yeah. But
from a general manager perspective.
Well, let me say something real quick. The thought process has certain validation to it. As long as you don't remove key pieces, as long as you remember to lock up your 1 or 2 star players, as long as you remember to lock up your head coach, as long as you remember to lock up, there are certain players that, yes, are not interchangeable, but pretty much everybody else on the team is, and to a certain extent. That's sports. You know what I'm saying? There are only 1 or 2 star players per team. Teams like the Warriors, teams like the Celtics of the 80s, the Bulls of the late 90s don't necessarily exist all the time. You know what I'm saying? For the most part, on most teams, you have 1 or 2 star players, and then everybody else is supposed to be interchangeable. That's supposed to be the idea. We're supposed to be able to plug anybody in there and still keep winning games.
I think in that sense, where football, they're able to do that.
Yeah.
Something like a baseball, or even a basketball. I think the ideal thing to do would not be to rebuild a championship team, but to continue to build up a championship team, from the bottom. You know where you're strong.
I mean, they demolished it like it was an old casino.
Exactly. Don't just blow it all up and decide I can do it all again. No, you take what you have and you build upon that. You know, this guy's retiring soon. Let's start finding guys to replace him eventually and build those guys up. You look at if the Oakland A's could win a championship, I like what they do because they're able to get rid of guys, but at the same time they have farm systems and things in place where they can bring guys up and immediately have new, so to speak, stars. I like what New England does in terms of they kept Brady and they kept him there for years, and the pieces around him they plucked in and out.
Well, let's state this.
Well, we're
now.
We're gonna see how well that really works this season.
We're gonna see exactly how interchangeable everybody is on that team this year. Because, I'm sorry to say it, it's the perfect storm. And right as Brady's about to retire, everybody's asking the question: well, was it him or was it Belichick? Was it him or was it Belichick? Well, guess what? We gonna learn this season. We're going to learn real quick.
We're going to learn today.
Exactly. We're going to learn exactly who it was. Even though I'd say Brady's got a slighter edge because Brady's with a good, another good head coach, another good all-time head coach in Bruce Arians. But Belichick's going to really be able to show hey, motherfucker, I can get it done with anybody. You go to the playoffs and come close to a Super Bowl with Jarrett Stidham as your quarterback. Hey, man. But I'm getting off subject there. Go ahead, dude. Sorry.
Oh, well, no, I was going to say he did pretty good before him with Drew Bledsoe.
Yeah.
And then he took Matt Castle and made him a star. And then you look at what Garoppolo was doing.
Jimmy G.
And he never really saw the field. He was all just backup time and study. Yeah. So, no, I think
saw the 4 games that Deflategate, the suspension from Deflategate.
What were you saying, Doobie?
Yeah. No, I was the Deflategate. I was gonna say that was all just a study, but I think New England is still gonna be good because they have a good system in place and they've already established that tradition of winning. Right, I don't think they'll be as good this year because he still needs not necessarily a great quarterback, but I just don't think that the guys that they got are going to be able to do it. But yeah, I think New England is still going to be a good team. I think they'll still win the AFC East.
I think wild card, and maybe second. Well, I don't know because bro, wild card round is about to get and let's discuss that real quick before we get back to the Last Dance. I don't know if you heard, Heather, about the new playoff format for next year, but we discussed this in the last episode.
No.
For NFL, only the number 1 seed gets a bye now, and there's an extra wild card team being added. So now there'll be 3 games: the 2 versus the 7 seed, the 3 versus the 6 seed, and the 4 versus the 5 seed on wild card weekend on the AFC and the NFC. And the only team that gets a bye past that first week is the number 1 seed. So that's going to be different. But that extra wild card team may be what gets New England into the playoffs this year.
I'm not gonna lie. I haven't been paying too close attention to the NFL because I'm still really butthurt about this Vegas move. So I haven't really.
Fair enough.
I haven't really come to terms or decided how I completely feel, whether or not, because I won't be a fan of another team. That's just not me.
Fair enough.
But I don't know if I can say I have an NFL team right now. So I haven't been paying as much attention to that as I have been college ball.
Right on.
But, it doesn't mean I won't watch the games or anything. It's just I don't have as much invested in it right now just because, right. With everything that's happened in the last 2-3 years with management, ownership, coaching, the big fuck you to Oakland, to the fans, to, and people want to say, oh, you're not a loyal fan.
Oh, no.
They're not a loyal fucking team.
Yeah. Yeah, nah.
What are you talking about? Like, I stuck by them through multiple moves, but now you want to sit here and people want to sit here and blame the city of Oakland. Mark Davis never had any intention on staying in Oakland. Yeah. Period. None.
No, I can agree with that statement.
Anyways, like, I don't know how we got from basketball to football to Patriots, but
no, because I took us in a different way, so that was my bad. All right, so back to this basketball. So I thought that the way that they did the whole Pistons saga, I thought was very well done. Because I loved Isaiah's explanation. I loved Jordan's reaction to Isaiah's explanation. I thought that was great TV. Like, seeing him sitting there like, now that everybody looking bad at you, now you feel bad about it. Like, that was all just great TV. But just in general, to be honest with you, I personally started feeling like I kind of understood Isaiah's like POV, like y'all, you and the horse that you rode in on, coming here and knocking us off our throne. Fuck you, your mama, and your cousin. I kind of feel that, you know what I'm saying?
Your mama's mama.
You know, I didn't take some losses in Madden that didn't have me telling my homeboys, you know, fuck you and your mama. You know,
right.
So you know, I can understand that. You know, like I can relate to that thought process. But was it unsportsmanlike on national TV for them to do that? For sure. But it just shows the grit and the grime that was Michael Jordan. Like, Jordan
also
beat you so bad you didn't want to shake his hands.
When emotion is involved, it's hard to have good sportsmanship sometimes. When you've invested so much just to get almost there.
Yeah.
Just to be knocked down off of your throne. You know, I can understand when the emotions are high and you're not thinking clearly. You're not you're just going off of emotion. You're saying whatever pops into your head at that point. You're not trying to filter yourself because you're still processing what you just went through.
Yeah. And I feel that. Doobie, your take on it?
I was going to say, you got to understand, it's like, you know, two different forms of, I guess, sportsmanship.
Yeah.
Now, you know, you saw in the cut from the documentary or whatever when Detroit beat Boston. Boston kind of just walked off the floor and whatever so on and so forth. So I think what you saw there was So what you're seeing with Chicago and Detroit is kind of the clash of the two eras. You know, is the one era where I'm the champion, I'm the big dog, and you just a little whatever we do to you. You know, you got lucky. Every stray dog find a steak in the can every once in a while. Fine, we'll be back next year. Don't, you know what I'm saying? Not enough from it.
Yeah.
If that was the old way. You know what I'm saying? No, you know what I'm saying? You beat me, whatever. You beat me, I'll see you again on the next one.
Right.
But then it's kind of that new sports.
Catch you on the flip.
Where it's okay. Yeah, you know, well, okay, whether you win or lose, everybody lines up, you know, after the game. We're all going to shake hands and say good game. And, you know, it's no longer just a
we'll give you a participation trophy.
Exactly. The first of the participation trophy. Right? So it's kind of like, you feel me? And in that respect, that's what Chicago had always done. Again, watch the documentary. Detroit didn't just whoop them. You know, they beat them, and they beat them in a disrespectful manner. Mm-hmm. Whereas Chicago,
and the same thing has been said about the Warriors and how they've beaten some teams, right? You know, when they've beaten them by, like, and you've had coaches who are like, that's totally unnecessary. And it's like, wait, you stop playing just because you're ahead? Really? It doesn't work that way.
Yeah. It Same thing, but that's what the participation trophy is for. Everybody plays, right? So you don't really feel bad. It's okay. But then, and again, that's where the two different trains of thought collide. Because you got your players like Kobe, where he's just gonna go at you. Kobe's and Mike's just gonna go at you and dog you at all costs, right? And then you got players like, say, I'm gonna put LeBron out there because it's enough already. But we just, you got other players who don't necessarily have just that killer instinct, just that thug mentality. I'm just gonna walk on Ruby. You know what I'm saying? And so it's kind of the clash there between two trains of thought, where I don't have to walk all over you, dog you out, stomp you down just to beat you. I can just beat you and we can all shake hands and go about saying again.
I could just humiliate you on the court.
Exactly. Well, and so again, it's the clashing of the two different trains of thought. Not two players in a place in an area where look, we both played hard, we both gave it our best, shake hands, go off the floor. Whereas Isaiah is coming from the era where I'm gonna kick your ass and you gonna kick my ass. Either way, we're gonna be back out here tomorrow to fight again.
Exactly.
The clash of the other players. That's all.
Well, let me tell this one story real quick, and this actually wasn't told in The Last Dance. I saw this on this little side documentary thing that I watched on Hulu. But there is a game. They was talking about the competitiveness of Michael Jordan. And this is not a rumor, like they actually spoke to the NBA player. There was a game, I forget the name of the defender, but Jordan literally, took his first shot of the game, hit it, went 38. For the rest of the game, every time Jordan scored on him, he would not. What was his name?
Mm-hmm. That was Steve Smith.
Yeah, and just put it on him. That's my favorite story about his level of competitiveness, because it lets you realize, like they said, he manufactured reasons in his head to go at dudes. Like he literally did. Like this dude was a competitor on another level.
He's telling himself in his head that dude just spoke bad about my mama. So pretty now much. I'm going to go and freaking whoop on him.
It truly is but it shows the different, and it brings me back to the participation trophy discussion, because I said this. I was having this discussion with a friend of mine at work while talking about the Last Dance documentary, that we live in a generation of participation trophy people, and it's starting to piss me off, because I get into these conversations with these youngins, and I'm going to call them youngins because that's what they are.
Well, because now we're dealing with the aftermath of grown-up participation trophies. What happens when everybody thinks that it's the entitlement?
It is. And so I'm like sitting here, and I to paraphrase the discussion I had, I literally had a discussion where a kid, paraphrasing, was trying to tell me that getting to the finals and losing is okay, because at least you got to the finals. Now,
no!
Hold on. I actually have here's the crazy part. I've actually rationalized this in my head and split it. Look, if you're an 8 seed and nobody expected you to get out the first round and you make it to the finals and lose, you can be happy to be there. You can be happy to have been there. You know what I'm saying? But if you come in as the 1 seed and get to the finals and lose, don't come at me with none of that happy to be there bullshit. Don't come at me.
It's
no,
just like
you were supposed to go.
It's just like I'd rather lose by 50 points than lose by 1 point.
Yep. Oh, and the other way I've thought of, and I'd love to hear your interjection in on this. Another way I've been explaining to people is the woman analogy. As I said, okay, you tell me.
I'd love to hear this.
Well, okay, hold on. Would you rather have a woman shut you down before you ever say hello, or let you get all the way to the house, you sitting on the couch, and then she say no? Where would you rather be? Would you rather she shut you down? And every dude I've come across is like, I'd rather she shut me down.
I don't know. Are you a sex offender, or are you a normal person?
You know, no. I'm just saying a normal person.
That could depend.
I'm saying a normal person. What were you gonna say, dude?
Honestly,
Yeah.
you can shut me down in that.
What's up, dude? Dude, we lost
You
you.
hear me?
No. We
You
lost
hear
you.
me?
Can't hear you.
Now we can.
You hear me now?
Yeah.
So yeah, I was gonna say shut me down in the house, because at least I can, you know what I'm saying, get something to eat, watch TV for a minute, Netflix and chill, kick back.
Try to get me out of this bitch.
Yeah. I may not get that first note. I'm gonna get that first note, but eventually.
Fair enough.
Well, but then look, shit. You gotta think about this, right? It's 30 teams in the league.
Mm.
They're 30 and 32, right? Only 2 of them get to go to the final.
Right.
Period. So yeah, to get there, even if I get there and lose,
it's an accomplishment.
I can not mission accomplished. I can be satisfied.
Okay.
Like, okay.
Yeah, but not if
you're
the incumbent champion. You can't.
Oh,
it's
if
like
I'm the
sex with
defending
no
champ,
happy ending.
Yeah. If you didn't already won one, if you defending, then it's that's
okay.
Step right there. That's real too nice to the bet.
Let me put it to you like this. Then let's flip it. And yes, this is a LeBron discussion for all of y'all that know this is not thinly veiled. This is a LeBron discussion. So I'm sorry. Like I already see the people listening going, "Nah, y'all just trying to have a LeBron discussion, but y'all are phrasing it differently." No, we having a LeBron discussion. All right, look. Should it not? And here's where I say the participation trophy part comes in. Should it not count against your legacy for you to take a loss in the finals?
Yes. Well, hold on.
Not necessarily count more than a win.
The number of losses that he's taken in the finals, yes.
Okay, hold on.
Okay.
Let's clarify something here.
Yes.
The man got cheated.
Okay.
The man got cheated by the Golden State Warriors 2 years in a row, because there's no way Kevin Durant should have been a part of that team. And if Kevin Durant is not a part of that team, then you got a evenly matched league, right? The Warriors team was going into the game with the Warriors and beating themselves. Cleveland gave it a shot.
The only reason why he won in Miami was because he put the team together that he did there. So that kind of nullifies that argument.
Hold on. Did
I'm in the fight here now.
Let's just question honestly though. Did he put that team together, or did he go join Dwayne Wade? Right?
No,
and then Chris Bosh went join.
He orchestrated them taking pay cuts. He orchestrated them staying put one more year where they were respectively. He orchestrated them being in Miami together. He orchestrated that.
Now, I will say that applies to him, Bosh, and Wade. They did together orchestrate them 3 landing there. Now, the bench that they put together was more so a combination of those 3 being together and other people wanting to come play with them. I do admit it was this perfect storm for him that landed him this mega team, super team, whatever you want to call it, in Miami. Now, I'm sorry, the aha moment of Miami is the fact that they didn't win 4 straight. That they went to 4 straight and didn't win 4 straight. That's the aha.
And they could. And I said this before.
Yeah.
You look at those finals, right? Who did he face? Right? He faced a Dallas Mavericks team that had a fuck date with Destiny. Right?
Hold on, I've never heard it put that way. I had to laugh.
All they had to do.
A fuck date with Destiny, damn.
All I had to do.
That one down.
Right? Then they faced a Spurs team with a freshman season Kawhi Leonard. Now, let's look at this Spurs organization. This ain't no regular organization that just happened to get to the finals. This is a team that, if the Lakers didn't exist, would probably be in the finals every year that decade. This ain't no regular champion. Okay, so he faced 2 uphill battles in Miami, and I can I can't take nothing from the man. He faced better teams. Dallas at that, except for who?
I said except for his hairline.
Oh well, yeah. But he faced better teams. He beat the Spurs once, right? And then who else he beat? OKC. After that, Chris Bosh was getting blood clots, and the deal was done.
Well, okay.
It's time to go back
I
home.
agree.
Oh, and he's getting cramps.
I agree with that to this extent. To this extent, Abdul. I agree with what you're saying to this extent. All right. Look, I agree that the better team won the 2 times that they won, that he lost in the finals, in the same way that the Detroit Pistons were a better team than that 04 Lakers. Okay? They played better team ball, but on paper, they weren't really the better team. As far as like big names, all-stars, NBA, so on and so forth. Yeah. And it's the same thing with that Spurs team and with that Mavericks team. Miami was the better team on paper, but that Mavericks team and, of course, that Spurs team, because the Spurs team always played as a team. They moved as one monolithic unit. All right? Mm-hmm. They got beat by better teams. And you're right. He did get back on that Miami team because, unfortunately, Dallas wasn't able to get back after that. For him to be able to get back on them, he had to face OKC. And I think a lot of that had to do with OKC being young. I think if you mature Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Russell Westbrook to where they are now and then put them back on that OKC team, I think that's a completely different finals. I'm not saying they win, but that's definitely a completely different finals. But at the same time, LeBron, I think context matters, is always said in every group that I'm in. Stats without context mean nothing. All right, so I get the context behind LeBron's losses, but I don't give passes for losing in the finals to great players. I just don't. I don't give passes. No matter how hard the competition was, I don't give passes. It doesn't count. Now, and this is something I tried to explain, and I would love to hear y'all take on this. I tried to explain to this kid, and going back to Heather's original point, it's that, like, this dude was like, nobody ever counts Kobe's losses or Tim Duncan's losses against them. I'm like, no, they count against them.
Yeah, we do.
Yes, they do.
Yeah, we do.
But they count them against them. But they won. But they won more than they lost. So that loss doesn't bring down their legacy as much as those wins lift up their legacy. Okay, and I was like, now that's the problem with LeBron, is that he stacked up more losses than he has wins. So those 3 wins kind of level him out to where those losses stack up to. So that his legacy, to an extent, kind of levels out and cancels itself out. And I'm not saying cancels it out as he doesn't belong in the top 5, top 3 on the Mount Rushmore. But I'm saying, as far as being the guy that overtook that top spot, that's where he falls short, is when you add up the points.
He doesn't even belong on the ground below Mount Rushmore.
Damn. I don't know if I'd say all that, but everybody has their take on it. But I look at it and I look at that and I just go, it's not that final record is all that matters. It's when you take in the context of it all and what we thought he was capable of when he came into the league. It's not that he fell short of anything. It's
not
just
that, but it's also the way he acted after and during those times that he lost.
Yeah.
To me, that was a big factor, too, because he was a complete douche.
All right.
I mean, no different than in a lot of other players that I've seen lose.
Yeah.
I ain't going to say no names. But,
okay, so you tell me, as a Jordan fan, do you see Michael Jordan reacting to that mistake by JR the same way that LeBron did?
Oh, hell yeah! Oh.
Yeah, but here's
no, seriously, you seriously think Jordan pouts?
I don't see Jordan treating fans of the opposing team or press the same way.
This nigga over here.
I'm sorry, I hate to interrupt, but let me say so. That moment, let's just take that J.R. Smith moment. Let's just take that. Dealing with LeBron, he got off easy.
Okay.
He got off easy because if Mike was there,
JR doesn't exist anymore.
If he had to face Mike in that moment,
JR.
Hey, you think Mike would have made him sit down at the end of the bench?
He'd have been on the floor. Let me tell you something. Hold on, wait. Let me say this. If he was dealing with Mike, he'd have been on the floor in the corner, ball in the fetus position, crying while Mike is still like this. It'd have been no more game. The game would have ended right there. Mike would have been feeding his ass to the locker room.
Okay, so see, that's kind of. I love Doobie's reaction to this. Oh, that's just awesome. No, it's real though. Like, it's real when I'm talking to these kids and I explain to them that, like, look, it's not that LeBron's not great. It's just that in certain moments he's lost a little bit from me, from what I expect, from what I've seen. Because I think to myself exactly what Doobie's saying. Like, oh, dude, if this was Michael Jordan, like, dude, like, and there definitely wouldn't have been no pouting on the bench. Like he said, JR might have been pouting at the in the corner, you know, rocking in the fetal position, but everybody else would have been listening to Mike talking about, we about to go out and get this shit. JR fucked up. He can sit over there, but we about to go get this shit. Wouldn't have been no pouting in the corner, sitting off to the side while the coach got to give the motivational speech. So it's not necessarily that I'm saying, oh, that should make LeBron the fifth ranked person. No, his culmination of work puts him in that discussion. But these people that say his culmination of work surpasses him from MJ, y'all need to stop smoking crack. Because like, these are the same dudes that say Mike played against nothing but plumbers and fucking and whatchamacallits. And I'm like, really? So you're calling, like, Bruce Bowen one of the greatest, like, who was widely considered one of the greatest defenders in the NBA history, a plumber? Like, and Mike schooled Bowen a couple of times.
I'm sorry, but Magic Johnson straight up said Michael Jordan was the best basketball player he's ever seen, played against, played with. Yeah. I mean, and coming from somebody like Magic, I put a lot of there's a lot of weight in that.
Doobie, you were saying?
I was gonna say, just let me just kind of clear this up, right? Okay, we look at the two different.
Is JR still in the corner?
That yeah, pretty much, yeah. You look at the 80s and the 90s, right? And you look at the 2000s and the 2010s and the type of basketball player, right? Where they're coming from. See, these 2000 and these 2010 type players have been training and been getting personal trainers and all kind of, you know what I'm saying, videos and instructions and, you know what I'm saying, from early age. And it's not that that other era didn't, okay? Yeah. You know what I'm saying? It's just that other era came from a more natural, more street ball type of, it wasn't as technical. It wasn't as, you know what I'm saying, as later. It wasn't as, you know, as robotic. It wasn't as taught. Yeah. You understand what I'm saying? Well, what you were seeing is more of a natural game. You're seeing guys to play, you know what I'm saying, more of a street ball, more of a free essence type thing. So and so that's why, you know what I'm saying, you would say, you know what I'm saying, Mike was playing against plumbers. Yeah. But just let me clear this stuff right here. Okay, Larry Bird, Isaiah Thomas, Joe Dumars, Dennis Rodman, Bill Laimbeer, Magic Johnson, James Worthy, okay, Clyde Drexler, Charles Barkley, Kevin Johnson. I'm talking about every player. Karl Malone, John Stockton. These are all
really just say Kevin Johnson?
No, yeah, Kevin Johnson.
Oh, yeah, Kevin. Hey,
former mayor of Sacramento.
Yes, I know who he is.
Every last one of those guys up there, though, NBA Hall of Fame. And not only they just NBA Hall of Famers, but they help shape the game the way it's played today. So that's why, you know what I'm saying, you can never say Mike played against plumbers, because he played not only against some of the best defenders in the league, but he played in the era where defense is how you made your mark. Defense was not how you won championships. Defense was like, but how you played games. You understand what I'm saying? I'm not gonna go let him go get 30. I'm gonna, you know, we can hand check, we can get out here and play that false beat. So I can just get all the things, and he can't do nothing. And I'm talking about 70, 80-point games on a regular. You know, just 10, 125, 130 points. You know what I'm saying? Nah. So it was a different era in that thing. So no. It wasn't plumbers and you know what I'm saying, and guys like that. It was true, legitimate competition, you know. And it's not that, you know, today's competition is in fighter, but today's competition is more training. Yep. Today's competition is more taught. Today's competition is a little bit more, you know what I'm saying. I hate to say the word robotic.
They're baby more.
Kind of what it is. They're not playing free. They're not playing loose. They're going out there, you know what I'm saying. They're literally, you know what I'm saying, drills in the game. You know what I'm saying? You didn't see guys, you know what I'm saying, going, you know, actually executing dribble drills and so on and so forth in 80, because it really wasn't around like that. Yeah, they had drills and exercises better, you know what I'm saying, but it wasn't to the point where it is, that the training and the teaching is taught today. Two totally different.
Well, and also let me put one other spin on it that I've put to people, like the people that the comparison people is what I call them. They're people that have a tendency to say, and here's where I bring it back to the doc, because I think the doc kind of proved exactly my theorem that they talk about. Well, Jordan never faced anything like the Golden State Warriors or the San Antonio Spurs. He never faced no teams like that. He faced the teams that were the equivalent of those teams for his day.
Yeah.
He faced the teams that were the equivalent to all of those teams. That Barkley team went 62-20. That was a badass Suns team there. You know what I'm saying? And people talk about that as if these teams were nobodies. And I'm like, he's like, how do you think they would fare in today's society? In all honesty, you take any one of them greats and give them today's training techniques, nutritionists, so on and so forth, and they'd probably damn near be dominating the league the same way LeBron is. They'd probably be giving LeBron a run for his money.
The other thing that gets lost in this argument as well is Jordan played 3 years of college ball before he ever went into the NBA. He accomplished what he did in less time than LeBron has.
Yeah, and a lot. Whole thing about comparison.
People forget that part.
Yeah, like comparing eras like that, I think that's silliness. Like, you have to take each era for its own greatness. But when you look at it, and you look at like Abdul said, like the documentary has shown us, when you look at everything that he had to go through, all the greats he had to go through, Hall of Famers, just in order to get to the championship in the beginning, and then they talk about it, the guys that he stopped from getting titles in their primes when he was playing.
And the condition that team was in when he was drafted. A bunch of freaking drug addict, stripper fucking
exactly,
partying and smoking. Like, I mean, seriously. And here you've got this like straight edge kid who's like, I ain't having none of this shit.
My favorite part.
He turned that team around.
Mm-hmm. Well, I'll say my favorite part is when go on, Heather.
And, you know, and that was when they realized, because when he got drafted, that was what I was saying earlier, was everybody's like, he's too small. He's never going to be able to lead a team in the NBA. And then after that first season, the Bulls realized he's the real deal. He's what we need to build around.
The man averaged 37 for a season. Like, yeah, like, God damn. But no, but in real talk, like, he's just...
Well, I mean, when you're smoking at halftime...
Well, no, like, that was going to say, my favorite scene is when he's sitting there in the training room and he's like, yeah, y'all talking about a beer after the game. Like, when I first got here, they was having beers at halftime. They was getting cigarettes from the coaches.
The coaches were getting cigarettes from the coaches.
Oh, man. That team was just in shambles, and he made it into a powerhouse, only to have it destroyed by Jerry Krause. Like really, Jordan should have left behind a much better legacy as far as the Bulls went than what he did if it wasn't for Jerry Krause. Like, and just some of the decisions.
Jerry Krause is the Mark Davis of basketball.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's not a good thing for those of you who don't know. That's not a good thing. But on that note and that phrase, we're going to go ahead and take our only commercial break of the night. We'll be back in about 3 minutes or so with some more talk about The Last Dance and some of our favorite moments from back then. All right, y'all, you're listening to West Coast Bias right here on the 4 Aces Presents Radio Network. Stay tuned later on tonight for Now Versus Then. Also, stay tuned tomorrow for Dirty Talk 101, and then later on this week, K-Double's fifth period music class on Friday, Lovely Radio on Thursday, Mr. Deacon's Experience on Saturday, and then Cheap Pop Podcast should be back next Sunday. And they should have an episode coming tomorrow as well.
Interruption in progress. Now hijacking into ANS 2.0 immersion rig. Now simulating the Amazing Nerd Show. Featuring comics.
And Batman's like, you're safe here and everything, but the Joker all of a sudden pulls out a gun and shoots himself.
Movies.
People fight with lightsabers. What the hell do you want? I mean, in every one of these movies, there's a lightsaber battle.
Yeah, no problem. I'm gonna rewatch it a million times.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, give me something more.
Wrestling.
That would be awesome. Oh my god, just a monster. Fans would be like, holy, what the hell's going on? What happened to Jericho?
Horror.
It starts off like any other like home invasion type of story, and then it just goes crazy.
And more.
Hey, this is Christian.
Hey, this is Damon.
And we are the Amazing Nerd Show.
Make sure to download us on all your favorite podcast platforms.
So, what's up? Steve Fingerstyles here, the host of the podcast, spelled DA, of course. Tune in each and every week to hear what pisses me off, what angers me, what I make fun of, and of course, my crazy rants. I also have incompetent co-hosts, cool guests, and a silent producer that sucks. So what more do you need from a podcast? You can listen on Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, SoundCloud, and the Pod Bros Network. Peace.
From the galactic depths of the comic book universe comes the ghosts of the stratosphere, ready to galvanize and energize your mind with the latest of comic book news and reviews. And why are you stopping me? Yes, that's much better. Hi, this is Andy Larson for Ghosts of the Stratosphere. Join me every week along with my co-hosts Rob Stewart and Chad Smith, as well as a cavalcade of fantastic comic book guests, as we dish out heaping helpings of the greatest and latest of comic book news and reviews. New shows posted every Tuesday with bonus shows every first Friday of the month. You can find us on iTunes and Stitcher under Ghosts of the Stratosphere, as well as on our website, www.gotstratosphere.com. Hope to see you soon, folks.
All right, and we are back. So yeah, we were kind of just discussing off air the death of his father and some of the news media and how they just kind of took it to another level, and they kind of took it too far, trying to tie his dad's death to his gambling debt. And there's still people out there today that still try to say, well, you know, it was just a cover up. It had something, and don't be that disrespectful. Like, nah, man, like the man himself, like, trust me, I'm 100% sure that if Jordan felt it had something to do with his gambling debt or somebody that he owed money, he would have turned that person over to the police for killing his father. I honestly believe he's that type of person. I don't believe that he cared about his image so much that he would have been like, nah, I know who did this, but I'm not going to do anything about it. I'm not going to tell the police. Right. I'm not going to get them in trouble because I owe them money because this was a gambling debt and it might ruin my image. I just don't
because
see that in him as a person. Because he didn't
have multi-bajillions of dollars.
Yeah. Like, that's the truth.
I mean, how much freaking sense for all those arguments, it doesn't make sense. He's the head of $1 billion freaking business.
Yeah.
At that
crazy. Point, he had his contract with Nike. He had his NBA contract. He had money coming out the ears.
Yeah, and it's completely disrespectful at a time when somebody is basically at the lowest point. I mean, I've lost my dad. Yeah. I understand what it's like to go through that. Yeah. And I went through some shit when I lost my dad. So I can only imagine, you know, having that extra shit put on it like, he's trying to mourn the loss as it is, and now people are sitting there trying to come at him sideways like he's somehow to blame for what happened. Is just, it's beyond cruel.
Yeah.
Like, it's inhumane, and people, shame on you for the people who did that, because it's not right.
It's not. Duel, your thoughts?
JR did in the study with the candlestick.
Beat him.
Life is just one big tragedy.
Yeah.
Period. Yeah. Like, every time you turn around, every time you look up, look left, look right, look up, look down, it's a tragedy. Yeah. So, one thing definitely happens as you grow older and you mature, as you get used to tragedy. And we begin to understand, terrible shit. You begin to comprehend and make sense of everything that's wrong. Because you've dealt with enough tragedy, whether you watched it, heard about it, read about it, saw it, and most importantly, lived and dealt with and gone through it. Yeah. Life is just one big tragedy. So, to point it at, everybody's got their conspiracy theories, and I think this happens, and everybody's got their what could have happened if it was this. Everybody's got their opinion.
To say, yeah.
But, you know what I'm saying? But the only people that were there was man's father and the two people who were accused of and convicted of doing this crime.
Yeah.
Anything outside of that,
it's speculation.
Kind of needs to, speculation, and almost needs to be kept to yourself or within your own conversation, which is not going to happen in this day and age because we live in that, in the
look at
era
me
of the thumb.
Yeah. We live in the fishbowl.
Exactly. So you can just bing, 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 put it out there, and all of a sudden this story becomes a narrative, so on and so forth. So you can say what you want, about that whole situation, but I'm pretty sure if it was after the game, Mike would tell you it has nothing to do with basketball. So when you ask me about the game,
which he said multiple times during the documentary when they continually asked him about Pippen.
There's nothing to do with
basketball. Are you going to ask me about the game?
Ask me about the game. You know what I'm saying? Everything outside of that needs to be left alone. That's for that man to deal with.
Which I also respect. I respect him for that, too, because there are a lot of other players that wouldn't necessarily bite their tongue the way that he did in some of the situations.
And yeah, well, it's best said in a phrase that my daddy used to always say. Your daddy used to always say. And,
my daddy
used to always say, and that was, don't count another man's money. Meaning like, don't
my
judge.
Dad used to,
What's up?
My dad used to say, if you can't be a role model, be an example.
Yeah, there you go. Hey, makes sense. Shit. Well, say, but yeah, true. Like, don't be all up in other people's business like that. Like, it's just it showed a level of heartlessness that I didn't really like in the news media at the time. Because even I at the time was just like, I'm good. Like, nah, that's not what happened. But this man, seeing the whole story again, like I didn't heard the Michael Jordan. I ain't gonna lie, I didn't heard the Michael Jordan story about 50 times over throughout my life. Like I didn't heard it in different ways, in different docs, and different shows, and different. I watched it as it happened, growing up.
Right.
Yeah, and
I think all three of us did.
Yeah, we did.
We're all three of us are old enough to. I mean, Michael Jordan was basketball. You know, he made, especially at the time for Warriors fans, he made basketball fun because it wasn't necessarily fun watching our team, but it was sure as shit fun watching him.
It was 10 years of wondering, who's our Jordan? Nobody! Yeah, shit. At least with those Lakers, y'all got Kobe and y'all got your Jordan. But us, yeah, we got nobody. But it's okay. We got our Jordan now. We had our run. But it ain't over. I'm telling you, one bad year don't mean it's over.
Well, I'm apparently 2020 is just going to be a complete mulligan. So,
well, they're saying that that at this point they're talking about potentially doing a 1-16 tournament for the playoffs at Walt Disney World. But I guess the Warriors
yeah,
wouldn't be
I saw
involved
that,
in that,
but it's like, why even bother? Like, why? Just
call it a season. You want to know why?
It's going to go down in history with an asterisk next to it, anyways. Like,
because the LeBronites
call the
will
season
go
a
wild
wash.
in the streets, Heather. That's why. Because the LeBronites will go wild in the streets because this was his year. They were supposed to win the title for LA. They have to do it to prove all the doubters wrong.
And then when it doesn't happen in 2021, it's because 2020 was his year. Exactly. He got screwed.
So
they'll find an excuse for anything.
Yeah. Well, like I said. Go ahead, do.
Well, you can't fight. You can't fight the truth. You know.
Oh my God.
The Lakers.
Whose version of the truth?
Year.
So wait a minute. So the Chinese released COVID just to make sure LeBron wouldn't win the title?
Unfortunately, everybody hates LeBron, right? And the whole world is against the guy.
Even the bats from China hate LeBron.
So they go and release this whole virus and cancel the season. Now we gotta wait till next year. You know, it's always why can't you leave my man alone? Let him be great. Just let him be great. Let him go win this championship for the Lakers, number 18 and number 19, and then we can let him he can retire and go into the sunset, and then everybody can be happy. Yeah, man, alone. He's good. He's chilling.
I gotta ask you this, LeBron.
Meanwhile, in a corner somewhere, JR is still crying his eyes out.
Let me ask you a question, Doobie. And I hope to God I already know what your answer is gonna be on this. LeBron, greatest Laker ever, or hell no?
So he's not even the 5th best Laker ever.
I'm surprised if people got to think about that.
The answer is to be determined.
Really?
Because the hierarchy is set. Yeah, the hierarchy is set right now. Right? You got Kobe, you got Magic, right? And you got Kareem, Jerry West, and Shaquille O'Neal. In whatever order you want to put those guys.
Okay.
So in order for him to he's already he's one of the greatest key players ever. Okay. He is the greatest Cleveland Cavalier player ever.
Okay, yeah.
In order for him to get up there,
that doesn't take much.
Hey man, Craig Elo is hard to surpass. All right, no.
in order for him to etch his name on this Laker thing, he's got to win 3, and he's got a 3.
Okay, fair enough. Fair enough.
That's it, right? He's got a 3-peat. And don't get me wrong, what he's done already has elevated the Lakers to a sense of, okay, we're back. He pretty much came in and saved the organization.
Yeah.
I mean, I got to give the guy credit where credit is due. They were shit. You know what I'm saying? And they were shit the years Kobe's last. That was so disrespectful to the man for them to be, you know what I'm saying, as bad as they were.
Yeah.
But a team to finally be coming around and finally be turning the corner now.
Stop him from scoring like 60-something points his last game.
I mean, hey, you feel me? And the team wasn't nothing. So for them to even be in the playoff picture because of LeBron, that automatically puts them at 6. Now, if you want to break and you want to get in the number 5, number 4, number 3, got a 3. Got a 3.
Not even 3-peat. Dude's got to actually make it to the finals with them first. or even the playoffs.
Well, that's baby steps. That's baby steps. No, but you're right. You're right. Like, it's baby steps. But yeah, you're right. And I think what he's saying is, and you can tell me if I'm wrong or right on this, Abdul, is that gap between 6 and 5 is those 3 titles. So yeah, getting them to the finals will be nice, but it's going to be winning those titles that's really going to jump him and close that gap between 6 and 5. You know, and I understand. See, for me, that's the way it is with him and the GOAT conversation with MJ. It's like he still has a lot to do to surpass MJ. Like, the gap between him and MJ is big, and it's filled with Kareem and Kobe and all these other dudes. Now, I'm not saying he's that far down on the list. I'm just saying, like, the gap is there because, like, to an extent, his total career as a package has not truly surpassed those grades. Yeah, he's passed them in some statistical categories, but his career as a whole has not surpassed those grades. So surpass them first. Then you can close that gap on Mike. You know, but yeah, I feel you.
Okay, so you want to hear something crazy?
Hmm?
You want to hear something crazy about this freaking documentary? We all know how that season ended. We know that they won. But the way that they played that documentary had me questioning, are they going to win this championship? Like, I already know what freaking happened. But they played it up so much, like...
it really looked that bad. Honestly, I do remember having the question, like, are the Bulls really going to do it this year? You got Scotty out, Dennis tripping, Mike on his last... When they talking about he's going to retire, he's not really giving a fuck. He's not retired one time before. Like, are they really going to do it? But like the man said,
hella tripping, going, I know they win this, but I'm sitting here going like, oh my God, are they going to pull it through?
Well, that comes from going ahead to.
I was like, never underestimate the heart of the champion.
Yeah,
and Jordan is what makes that thing.
Now, see, also, here's the thing that I keep telling LeBron fans about that 3-1 comeback, is as history pushes further and further away from the feat, we have a tendency to forget the how and just remember the who. And what Heather was saying, as far as her watching and experiencing it all over again through the documentary, is exactly that. We remember that the Bulls won that year, but we don't necessarily remember in vivid detail the road that it took them to get there. You know, so
they damn near didn't.
Yeah, and all of this documentary was doing was just reviving those memories of how they got there, but it still left us, like you said, with the will they? Well, wait a minute.
It was like a cliffhanger. You're on the edge of your seat, going, "Oh my God, are they going to pull this? Are they going to pull this through? Are they going to do this? Are they going to win the last one? You know, it's the last dance." And it's like, bitch, you know how this ends.
Hold up.
This happened 20 years ago.
I had that moment watching this movie called The Wizard with my daughter about last week with Fred Savage and Christian Slater. And I found myself in the final scenes going, does he win? Does he win? I didn't watch this movie over 100 times between the ages of like 12 and 14. And I know how it ends, but I'm still like, does he? He won! Yeah! Because I forgot how.
But honestly, if you go back and you remember that 98 season and, you know, he was riding with the Bulls and everything, you remember that, right?
Yeah.
We were honestly asking that question up until the point Mike stole the ball from Karl Malone.
Yep.
When Mike stole the ball from Karl Malone, then it was kind of like, okay, they're going to win. that was when you already knew that the shot was already sunk, the celebration was already in, but up until that point, kind of because the Utah gave him hell. Utah was fighting them tooth and nail.
Yeah,
I thought he was going 7. Like, hey, this is going to be the first time Mike goes 7. Okay, he's going to get it in 7, and then that's going to be it. Mike don't go 7. When he took that ball from Karl Malone, I was like, oh, that's game right there. That's game. Matter of fact, on that inbound, when he went and got that bucket in that 2.4 seconds, it was like, it's not like anything. But you're thinking, all right, you probably gonna go down here, run a little pick and roll, Karl gonna get a bucket. You know what I'm saying? They'll win. Mike double back, stole that ball. I just really got them shit. You knew at that moment. Yeah, at that moment, then it was like,
done.
Okay, they're gonna do it. They're gonna do it. But up until then, it was number question marks. Really, honestly, because it was like, oh, you knew they were great, and you knew and you knew why they were great, but you didn't know why they weren't. You know what I'm saying? Just 72-10, right? You know what I'm saying? They were just throwing things out the water. But the Bulls looked different that '98 season, and I think this documentary explained more.
And also, I was looking at, like, and I agree with MJ's take on the Byron Russell shot. Like, he's like, dude, I didn't push him. His momentum took him that way. He's like, yeah, my hand swung forward, but I didn't push him. And I'm like, I thought the exact same thing when I saw it originally. I was like, dude, like, no, he overshot that, figuring Mike was going to drive. And I was like, he completely overshot that. What's up?
He was whooped. Byron Russell was whooped from the first dribble. Okay? The minute Mike stopped and cleared the floor and he took that first dribble towards the back, he was whooped.
Yep.
He was whooped. It was nothing he could do because he had completely turned his whole body and he wasn't in a proper defensive position where he could just, you know what I'm saying, get back to that crossover and cover that crossover real quick. He's anticipating Mike going hard right, fading away, you know what I'm saying, or something crazy. Yeah. When that man stopped on him, he ran out of bounds. That's why. From the first dribble.
That's what it was. Michael just skirt on him and just left him going, whoa. And dude had no clue what was going on. Like, and the whole thing about it is, I can't lie. When playing on a basketball court with dudes, I've had some dudes do that to me. Just stop on me like, oh shit, you over there. And that's exactly what I saw when I saw that finals. I was just like, dude, Jordan just left him like, yeah.
And the stop, the skirt, the shot, the lead it hanging up there, that was all deep. Yep. Look at that first dribble. Watch when Mike stopped at that corner and Scotty finally clear his ass out to the short corner. Wait, watch that first dribble. You watch what Byron Russell whole body did. Mike didn't have to take another dribble. He could have stopped right there and the man was there. Yep. Honestly, off the first dribble. All right, so he was helping. It was nothing he could do. He didn't have to twist him. He didn't have to touch him. He didn't even have to got him. All he had to do is one dribble. He just took the extra dribble, you know what I'm saying, just to make it look.
And it speaks to
that's all that was for. It was just to make it look pretty.
And it speaks to the fear that defenders had of Jordan when he had the ball in his hand. Like, you were so worried about his second and third step because you pretty much assumed he was going to beat you with that first. So you had to try. You knew you were going to be trying to recover from the immediate first step. And so you had to try to feed that. Even the greats will tell you that. With Michael, you had to, because if you didn't, you were already beaten. Like Duel said, before the first dribble was completed, you was already beaten. Mike has already scored. Like, and it's weird to say that. It's just like the argument that I've had with people about, well, Jordan was favored in every finals. I'm like, well, that argument is kind of weak because the main reason the Bulls were favored in all those finals is because Michael Jordan was on the team.
Yeah.
Even if they make the finals without Michael Jordan, they're not favored in a single finals that they're in unless Michael is on the team, because that's how much impact he had as far as betting lines in Vegas. And here's the whole thing with who's favored is a lot of people got to understand that lines are made based off of how people bet. It truly has very little to do with what's actually going on in the game. Margin of victory has to do with what's going on in the game, how good the teams are, the actual comparison. But who's favored and all that is really based more on betting lines, and it's who's going to be better, who's going to be bet on more. And so really,
and people tend to bet out of emotion, not out of logic, too.
Exactly,
especially when it comes to sports.
Yeah. And so that's why I say I can't put a lot of stock into who was favored. Because the better team isn't always favored. Yeah, they are most of the time, because most of the time the betting lines, the people go for the team that they feel is the better team.
well, in so many
general,
times there is a clear better team.
right? Like,
So
and what's funny
it's
is,
not a,
oh, I was just gonna say, in the world of gambling, like people don't understand that the more a favorite somebody is, the less money you're actually gonna make off of them.
yeah.
If you bet on them, like
On the
that's
underdog.
another thing that determines where.
Because that's
people
how
bet.
you come up.
Exactly. Is you bet on an underdog. You bet on a team that's not going, which actually pushes. Sorry, I got that a little bit backwards. Which actually pushes the line for the favorite. The more people bet on the underdog because of that particular fact. But anyway, at the end of the day, Michael Jordan once again reminded us over 5 weeks, 2 episodes a week, exactly why he's the GOAT. And people can say that maybe, at a certain
Or 10
point,
episodes in one day. How
yeah, like this young lady twice over in a matter of 24 hours. And it's an hour an episode, y'all, so that's some commitment. It's an hour an episode. I got 3 episodes into it and went, fuck. Yeah, okay, I'll watch
Well,
it.
it's almost like because of how much they jumped around with the timeline,
Yeah.
you almost have to watch it twice.
Yeah.
Because inevitably, like, again, it's like you blink and they're in a different decade.
Yeah.
It's crazy the way that it was definitely not done in a linear manner, which got kind of confusing at times because at one point, like, they're starting off, talking about the 97-98 season, and then all of a sudden it's like 1986.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Okay, what the?
Like,
what
literally, you
is
look
it?
down
Back
and look
to
back
the future?
up.
Like, wait, where's Doc? I mean, come on.
Man, like, yeah,
So-
it was definitely a roller coaster ride. Like, yeah. Like, I had forgotten about that B.J. Armstrong game. Like, until I saw it, like, I had completely forgotten about it. I was just like, B.J. gave him the business. That was right before he came to the Warriors, too.
I remember the babyface stuff.
Yeah, the first one. Shoot. But yeah, okay, so let's get to some current day and talk. Like, look, I'll start with this. Duel, let's start with this subject, and you can kick us off. There's been talk of Jordan averaging close to 50 in today's NBA. The man averaged 43 for a season at one point in his career, I believe, or at least for a significant stretch. Like between the end of one season and the beginning of another, he averaged like 40 a game for that entire period of time. Do you think he could average 40 to 50 a game? I'll say 40 is a more calm estimate because I don't think anybody's averaging 50 a game in today's NBA. But do you think he could average 40? It's three off from his career high season, which I believe was his second season in the league where he averaged like 37.6.
Come on, man. Seriously? Are you seriously
Break it down.
this really is even deserving? Like, come on, man. You already know. 40. He would have had 40 before he showed up for the shooting range. All right. Yeah, he would have had 40 in the shoot around. Okay. Are you kidding me?
Get him.
When he averaged 40, I think the question is when he averaged 80. Okay, because you're talking about an era that he played with. Okay, defense. Let's just start with defense. Okay, first of all, if you give Jordan arms distance, you get it. And that's kind of almost the basic, like the where you need to be in a good defense. It's about arms distance. You get it. So he played in an era where guys were literally on top of him, like on his back. Come on, man. The Jordan rule. We're gonna foul the guy. We're gonna put him on the ground, okay, before he gets to the cup, and he's getting 35. Come on, and you is he gonna average 40 in an era where you can't touch him? You can't even look at your offensive player in the wrong way. You can't breathe on him. Okay, You just got to kind of just stand there and pray for the best. And you're asking me, would he average 40? Come on, man. You talking about an era in which, you know what I'm saying, the go-to is the OMalley defense, where, all right, look, bro, you get this one. Let me go back on the other end, and I'll get that one. And you're asking me, would he average 40? You're talking about an era where a man has coined the phrase "hand down, man down," and you asking me, would he average 40? Why you say that, right? You just don't get a hand up in the front. They just kind of looking at you like, oh, if you make it, he make it. And you asking me with the greatest scorer. I ain't talking about shooter. I ain't talking about ball handler. I'm talking about the hands down, flat out, greatest scorer of the basketball the game has ever seen. And you're asking me in an era where they don't play defense, would he average 40? 40. And he was giving you 35 before they told him to start passing the ball. Like, we need you to pass the ball. 1 or 2, you think he gets 30 some look. He's giving you 35. You asking me, would he average 40? Then the question is, would he average Will? That's the question. Is Mike gonna go out there and get you Wilt today? Is that gonna happen? He ain't gonna average him. He gonna average Wilt. Come on, bro. He gonna go 15 for 15 from the field. He gonna go 10 for 10 from the line. He gonna go 20 from 20 from the line because they calling everything. He's gonna give you Wilt every night. You might get lucky and he'll give you a Kobe. You're gonna get wielded out there asking each and his man average 40. Come on, bud.
All right. And Miss OMalley, for you, the question is as simple as this. It looks like at this point the Warriors are going to have a top 5 pick. So do they keep it or do they trade it?
They trade it.
State your case.
You ain't seen what's coming.
I'm
sorry.
Okay, Abdul, you have a chance. You have a chance.
Well,
go ahead.
It all depends. Actually, my answer is it depends.
Okay.
I think it depends on what their situation is looking like at the time we hit the draft. I think it depends on where Clay's at in his recovery. I think it depends on, who is it that they've been talking about that they're trying to court right now. I think some of it depends, just because, yes, would it make sense to not trade it coming off the season that they just came off of? Yeah, I mean, in theory, but you have to look at the fact that, Steph was out most of the season, Clay was out. Both should be back healthy this coming season. So, yeah. They could trade it and end up doing, something, but I don't know. But does the front office actually let that happen?
Okay, just hear me out. There's a young man from Memphis, all right?
You talking about Wiseman?
Yes. You know how lucky and fortunate and blessed this team is? Come on, man. You gonna sit all 3 of your superstars, right? And you need a big. This boy is 7 feet tall. Okay, he runs the floor like he a guard. Okay, he can defend the rim like his name was Dikembe, right? And he gonna give you a low post presence that you ain't never had before. If Bob Myers and what's his name don't get up off their butt and go, if they got to trade up, they'll trade. If they don't get that, number one,
that was my other thing was it depends on who's available at that 5th round pick.
Yeah,
they will make him available.
But Yeah.
They would make him available. Okay, all right. They didn't. This all right. This is the scheme. All right. They hear me out. They didn't just cheat and go get Kevin Durant. They found a way to manipulate the league. All right, and grace this man on your watch. You think for 1 second they not gonna get James Wiseman, and they need a 7-footer who can run the floor and keep it a rookie?
Now, okay, Abdul. Okay, I understand what you're saying, but here's what the option is, and we all know that it's like 98% that it's not gonna ever happen. But in a bizarro world where Giannis denies an extension in Milwaukee and asks to be traded, that top pick can come in handy to get them a 7-footer that can run the floor.
No. No. And if the Warriors do some dumbass shit like that, they don't deserve to win another game. Giannis is good. Giannis is great. Don't get me wrong. Would they find a way to make him fit? Yeah, they could. But they're not going to sit up there and destroy their own salary cap trying to, you know what I'm saying, sign and trade for Giannis when
you would have to trade a Wiggins or a Clay to Milwaukee.
No. Because with Wiggins, you just got back what you lost, which was what you should have kept in Harrison Barnes.
I agree.
All right, so that's pretty much back right now. You're gonna be pretty much solid at that wing position playing in Harrison Barnes, right? You still got the dirty work, Draymond, who's gonna do everything else but score the ball. You don't need him to score the ball no more.
Yeah.
All you need now is a guy who's gonna make the game easy for Draymond, right? You got Steph. He makes the game easy for Wiggins and Clay. And you got Clay. He makes the game easy for Steph and Wiggins, right? Now you need somebody who's going to make the game easy for Draymond. And you need that 5. They ain't got Carly Stein anymore. They got rid of him for a reason. Warriors ain't stupid. They know exactly what they're doing and exactly who they target. And if they don't get him, it's only because they couldn't make the proper deal happen. Which, in all honesty, come on. If you sign Kevin Durant in free agency, you're going to find a way to make the deal happen. They're going to find a way to get by. And that's going to set them off into a level that, man, come on, man. Now you're talking about a legitimate starting 5 here. A legitimate starting 5 with cap space so that you can find some room, you know what I'm saying? Eventually, you're going to have to let Draymond go eventually because of cap room and possibly Wiggins too. But you talking about Steph, Clay, and a Wiseman and growing and getting better? Look, I ain't passing that up.
All right.
I ain't passing that up.
Fair enough.
They are not. And if they do, it'll be a surprise to me, and I'll say I don't know shit about basketball. But if you pass
that up, do we have to say challenge accepted to make it official? No. No. I think the only way that they move that pick, if it's a top pick, is if it's for
like
Giannis.
Hold my beer and watch this.
Yeah, but I agree with Abdul that I don't see them moving Wiggins or Clay. And only way that they get Giannis without moving Wiggins or Clay is if they straight up just say fuck it, and Milwaukee says fuck the world and just takes the first round draft pick or a couple of first round draft picks for Giannis. But I don't. First and foremost, let's start back at the beginning of the conversation. I don't see Giannis denying an extension in Milwaukee. Things are good for him in Milwaukee right now. They're winning games. They're going to Eastern Conference playoffs and stuff like that. They'll get better as the years go on. I don't really see him jumping off of that bandwagon quite yet. But it's a nice thought. But I agree with Abdul, but the only thing that I will counter with is that the reports that I've heard so far that I've been reading on the Bay Area My Teams app has been that the Warriors don't have interest in Wiseman. Why? I don't know. There's something about their dealings with him that turned them off. So we'll see what happens with that. Because there's talk that he might have dropped down.
And that's the thing. They're usually really tight-lipped about those things. So we don't really know what's going on behind the scenes.
Yeah. So I don't know. I think I could see them. I'm trying to remember. Do they have a second first-round pick this year, or is that next year? Because when they did
next year.
Yeah, during the Wiggins trade, they got back another first-round draft pick from Minnesota. But you think that's next year?
I think that's next year.
All right. Because that's another huge thing that people don't seem to be getting about what's The Warriors, like, over the next couple of years, have the chance to replenish and make another strong run. Like, they're not a bad squad at all.
Lost cause.
Yeah, they're not a lost cause at all. We're not back to the doldrums of winning 20-game seasons, guys. Don't worry about that. Yeah, this year we only won 20 games, but, well, shit, half the damn stars on the team was hurt. So we did what we could. Those young players went out there and played their asses off every game. They weren't the best team in the NBA, but they played their asses off. Eric Pascal, he's going to be a beast coming off the bench next year. Like, watch it. Like, he's going to be a straight up beast. But other than that, like, yeah, this Warriors team's going to get better. And so don't count them out by any stretch of the imagination. Especially, I agree with Abdul on one thing. If they end up going and getting that kid Wiseman, that's going to be a dangerous team for years to come. Like I said, I read reports that they're not big on him, but if they do decide to go with him, whoo, buddy, that's going to be a force to be reckoned with for the next few years. I want to say, other than that, anybody else got anything they want to chop up? No? Yes?
Fuck LeBron.
Oh, yep, that's classic Heather. Duel.
Leave my man alone. Let him be great, man. Let him be great. All right.
She is.
Great in his own. He's great.
She's letting him be great, but just fuck LeBron.
Yeah.
Oh, man. It's always great here on West Coast Bias. We'll be back next month. We'll find something to talk to y'all about. So y'all keep listening in. Probably late next month. But that'll do it for us for today. Abdul, any last words?
Let my man be great. All right? Let him be great. Oh, wait.
All right.
Let him not be a douche.
Poignant last words from two heroines of the English language here.
So articulate. One would never know I'm as educated as I am. I mean, he's so freaking articulate.
And on that note, we'll see y'all next month. Peace.